So I'm Grace Mitchell from Monash University. I'm going to pick up on some of the points, particularly Sharon wasn't intentionally providing me a good segue, but it certainly has happened. One of the things I want to just quickly go through is that there are whole ranges of scales that we can use water now that we certainly didn't talk about previously. So people are very interested in using water and being water efficient and looking after their stormwater and wastewater at household scales, and there are a whole lot of things that we can do at that scale. We can look at it at neighbourhoods and suburbs level, and there are some things, say the stormwater harvesting there at rural parks is something that the City of Melbourne is doing, as well as looking at their city as a catchment. But there's all sorts of examples of suburban and neighbourhood scale stormwater management, and as well as stormwater and wastewater harvesting. And then finally, traditionally, we always managed these systems at city, at region scale, and certainly we're continuing to look at those sorts of scales with things like the plans for water grids and stuff. And so if anything, our cities and regions are becoming larger. But the reason I'm mentioning these three different scales that we're talking about water at is that that's an enormous change in my view compared to, say, 10 years ago, where we actually historically would have much more left it up to the people dealing with it at cities scale, and we didn't actually individually think about what we could do ourselves at lot scale. We weren't actually nearly as involved at neighbourhood and regional and suburban scale. Now, those are all fantastic things, because what it's done is it's provided us an enormous amount of opportunity for innovation, and that's fabulous. It's also allowing us, though, to also have to start thinking about a bunch of things that we previously never really thought about, such as who actually manages it long-term at household scale. If it's a grey water system and I sell the house, who looks after it? Some things are unregulated at the moment. So what's actually going on, and what is really important going on for us to lay down the foundations for a really good long-term sustainable system, there's a lot of work going on now to actually figure out how we actually make the system work at household scale and at regional scale and at city scale, so you've actually created a really good environment that we understand who actually owns and operates things, who actually, are we actually aware of how to make sure that they work really well for the next 50 to 100 years, because these sorts of things hang around for a long time. So while it's fabulous that we're all really enthusiastic right now, it's also worthwhile capturing some of that enthusiasm to think about how are these things going to be sustainable in the long term. So if it does start raining a whole lot, we all hope, but perhaps it won't, how are these the sorts of things that we actually know how to actually operate for the long term, because lots of the infrastructure that we already have has been there for the long term. So it's a really important time for us to, while we're enthusiastic, to think about how we actually enable that sustainability right from our household scale right through up to city and regional scale and all the scales in between. Thanks.